The Washington Commanders, of course, formerly the Redskins for so many years, are in talks now to possibly bring back their iconic logo that those of us of a certain age grew up on and remember so well. The logo depicts Chief Two Guns White Calf, which, sweet Jesus, is that a great name? There you see him. The version of the old Redskins logo, which debuted in the early 1970s, was done by Walter Wetzel, who was the man who created this, honoring and depicting Chief Two Guns there was. And so that logo became synonymous with Washington football for so long. You can't think of Joe Theismann or John Riggins or Joe Gibbs or the Hogs or any of those great Washington teams without thinking of it. Truly one of the most recognizable logos in sports. And of course, it was ended, I believe, 2020 was when it came to its end. They became the Washington football team, as you may recall, and then were rebranded as the Washington Commanders and lost their visual identity. Their logo today, not so good. It's just that block W that they have on their helmets. And a lot of Washington fans have been nostalgic for the days of the old logo. Now, we're not talking about bringing back the Redskins nickname, but the visual identity, including the logo. Let's go and listen to Senator Steve Daines of Montana talking about what could be ahead for Washington football.
We were calling out leaders on a case of really woke gone wrong. The irony that they were canceling Native American culture as the DEI movement went way too far. Look, this is honoring a Blackfeet chief who was born in Montana. He's highly esteemed. The Blackfeet tribe of Montana, their current chairman and the tribal council signed a letter in strong support to bring the logo back. It honors Indian country. So we've had good discussions with the NFL and with the Commanders. There's good faith negotiations going forward that's going to allow this logo to be used again. Perhaps revenues going to a foundation that could help Native Americans in sports and so forth. We're making good progress. And based on the good faith negotiations, I made the decision to support this bill yesterday in the committee.
I know that they put a plaque up at Northwest Stadium honoring Wetzel and the logo. It'd be great to see it back on the helmets again. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
So there you have it. Something that only a few short years ago might have been considered unthinkable when the logo was effectively canceled along with the nickname. But here we are, and there's a very real possibility that we could see that familiar uniform and familiar helmet come back to Washington. The Blackfeet tribe wants it, according to Senator Daines. Of course, Chief Two Guns White Calf from the state of Montana, which Senator Daines represents. And, you know, again, I'll look at it the same way that I've always looked at it. The name Redskins itself, that is not for me as a white guy to say. If that is offensive to Native Americans, then I think that should be respected. But again, Native Americans, like all groups of people, do not have a unanimous 100% opinion on anything. There are some Native Americans who liked the Redskins name and who would like to see it come back. And of course, there are others who wanted to see it go. I don't think we're going to see that name come back. I do think that we can do better than Commanders. So if we're going to rebrand this and we're going to bring back the logo, which I think the logo is great. I mean, it's noble. I'm here in Chicago. The Blackhawks logo, I bought a Blackhawks jersey the other day. Itself, you're honoring a great man there. It is a very respectful, in my opinion, logo that is meant to honor someone who is worthy of being honored. So I certainly would be happy personally to see the logo come back. And man, let's do better than Commanders on the name. This is a great opportunity to drop that name, in my opinion. And Let's go back and take this little flashback to a great moment in Washington football history when they won the Super Bowl, went to the White House, and President Ronald Reagan, take a look at this. Redskins wide receiver Ricky Sanders hits him in stride. Right there. That is a pass worthy of Sonny Jurgensen or Joe Theismann. Take a look at that. Look at Reagan just hitting him, and Ricky Sanders hitting the celebration there right at the White House. So pretty good stuff. A little classic 80s Washington football. I got to believe John Riggins and Joe Theismann, friends of this program who have been on this show before, I got to think that they're going to feel good to see their headwear possibly back on the field again. Speaking of things that we're seeing again, maybe in this case a little less wanted than the Washington logo coming back into play, Kamala Harris has made an appearance, her first since the election and the result that obviously ended her presidential aspirations, and I think it ended them permanently. I don't believe the Democrats are going to let her anywhere near the car keys again, but let's face it, the voters would have rejected her anyway, probably. They did when she attempted to run for president. She was anointed. She wasn't chosen by the Democratic Party voters, but she's back now, and she had some things to say to her supporters.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Oh, God, can we just take her power away from her? You got into what, January 20th? And then you're no longer going to be the vice president or whatever it is that anybody in that White House is actually doing. Is she doing anything important? Has she ever done anything important? We know Biden's not really running the country. I think when we look back on this, more should be made of the fact, who's running the fucking country? See, here's the thing about Trump. Like him or don't like him, when he gets inaugurated as president, you know where the buck stops. Harry S. Truman used to have the buck stops here on his desk. You knew who was in charge. You knew who was going to make the call. You knew who to credit or you knew who to blame, as the case might be. But it wasn't some shadow administration of people who are really making the decisions. I mean, Joe Biden, God bless him, he doesn't know where he is or what he's doing half the time. And Kamala Harris is in the same boat, even though she got there without having dementia. So Kamala, bye, go away. Don't need to hear any more about it. And speaking of people that I don't need to hear any more from, how about this son of a bitch? Here we go. Just the balls on this kid. We're just a few weeks past the great pumpkin not showing up yet again. And now he's going to tell us the true meaning of Thanksgiving. I don't need your hot take on Thanksgiving. You lost all your credibility at Halloween because there ain't no pumpkin man showing up. And now I don't want to have to hear what you have to say. He's probably telling them to just never give up. Remember your importance and never give up. Don't let anybody take your power away from you, says Linus. And then, of course, once everybody tries to have some turkey and cleanse their palate from having to hear his true meaning of Thanksgiving story, he's going to come right back at you at Christmas again and tell you why you should be celebrating Christmas. This guy's out there. He probably knew the true meaning of Columbus Day and, I don't know, Boxing Day. He could probably go up to Canada and explain the true meaning of Boxing Day to those people. I don't fucking know. But to go back to Kamala for a minute, the original person that I don't want to hear anything more from, Kevin O'Leary was on CNN recently, Mr. Wonderful from the Shark Tank, the anti-Mark Cuban, the guy from the Shark Tank that I like. And he summed up Kamala's failures, I thought, very, very succinctly. Let's take a look.
The root of this mistake actually came very early on. They didn't run a process. They made an excuse of $317 million in the kitty. They kept the same campaign manager and said, we will anoint this faulted, broken candidate who was inconsequential in her vice presidency, lost in 2019, as you detailed, complete loser in 2020, never could articulate anything, had no compassion for people and her own advocates. Let's not forget this. I remember the minute this happened, I was in Europe. She went on to The View. All those women wanted her to win. They threw her a softball. They threw her a second softball. She was so weak as a candidate, she couldn't even answer that she would do something different. It ricocheted around the world. She was finished.
Well, let me go.
They will never do that again.
Someone give that man a microphone so he can drop it. He was preaching gospel. Was there one thing that came out of his mouth there that wasn't true? Scott Jennings looking at him with a smile on his face. Finally, another sensible man besides Scott Jennings sitting down for a conversation at CNN. And credit to everybody else on that panel for not interrupting him. I think that's the longest I've ever heard somebody criticize the Biden administration on CNN without somebody jumping in to tut them and tell them how wrong they are. That's what happens to poor Scott Jennings all the time. So everything he said is true. She was anointed. She was overmatched. I said it over and over and over again. One of the biggest frauds in the history of American politics. Kamala Harris was in over her head, did not even have a basic grasp on so many issues. So many issues. And we should expect whoever's in charge to have a better idea of what's going on than the average person on the street. She was constantly unprepared. And if you can't, as a Democrat, go on The View and make hay with the softballs, as he said, that they're lobbing in there for her, if you can't even get it out of the fucking infield, much less not hit it over the fence, you're done. Because that's as friendly as it's going to get. That's the biggest home game that you're ever going to play. And she was overmatched to even handle talking to Whoopi Goldberg, Sonny Hostin, Joy Behar at all. It's ridiculous that she came as close as she did. And, you know, again, there's your autopsy on this campaign. Everything that O'Leary said, absolutely the truth. And I'm going to bring in now another truth teller. I speak, of course, of the international streaming star who joins me from Nashville, Tennessee, Ronnie T-shirts. Did you detect any lies there from Mr. Wonderful?
No, man. It's just another example of I love people who have FU money. They just say they speak their truths and they do not care what the fallout is. And it's so refreshing to see. We need more people like that. It was awesome.
Well, FU money doesn't give everybody that. Mark Cuban, he's got FU money, and he did the exact opposite. We've got at least one person out there shooting straight from Shark Tank, at least.
Yeah, but if we go back to our whole free speech thing, Ricky, like Mark Cuban's allowed to speak whatever he wants, but I guess we have all kind of decided somebody was holding him hostage. And they have something on him because he just made this wild turn in the last 3 or 4 months that didn't seem like the Mark Cuban that we've all known for the last 20 years. So I don't know how authentic that is. So maybe I should say when you have FU money and you speak your authentic truth, I just don't think Cuban was speaking his authentic truth.
Well, let everybody say what they think. As we've said many times, Ronnie, we are free speech absolutist. Put it out there and let people decide. You know, one place that people like to put it out there, Ronnie, is at Thanksgiving dinner. You know, you never know which one of your relatives is going to pop off at the mouth, and there might end up being hurt feelings and arguments and all kinds of things like that. But you can avoid that problem when you burn all the bridges with your family altogether. There's one way to avoid having to go to Thanksgiving and have an awkward interaction with Uncle Frank. Just get out that Swanson TV dinner and reflect on all the decisions that you've made that have fractured your family and consider why you're no longer welcome there, I suppose. Ronnie, that is the saddest Thanksgiving feast of all that we're looking at right now.
When you were a kid, did your mom ever get you TV dinners? Because man, the few times that we got TV dinners, I thought it was like night for celebration. Like we'd go to the store and we'd get to pick the one that we wanted, and you'd get the little metal TV trays and put it together and get to sit in front of the TV, and it was glorious.
Ron, I didn't know that your family could afford a television. I thought that they were going to get TV dinners and then your parents would get up and like act out shows.
Do charades.
For you. Yeah. Yes. You could pretend that you were watching
Happy
Bewitched or something. Yeah, Happy Days. Your dad did a hell of a Fonzie from what I understand.
Speaking of Fonzie, you said that was sad. I know I've brought this up on the show before. Was it Christmas or was it Thanksgiving when they had invited, the Cunninghams had invited Fonzie over for, I believe it was for Thanksgiving dinner? And he said, no, I got plenty of plans. I got big stuff going on. And then Richie went out and he had to do something, and he looked inside Fonzie's shop, and he was like eating cold ravioli out of a can. That was sad.
Yeah, it's sad to see the guy who's the coolest home alone, Ronnie. Let's get into some more sports. It wouldn't be this time of year if we weren't talking football. And Jerry Jones, Ronnie, says that Mike McCarthy hasn't been ruled out for getting a contract extension. Jones saying, I don't think that's crazy at all. This is a Super Bowl winning coach. Mike McCarthy has been there and done that. He has great ideas. We got a lot of football left. Now, my first reaction here is that Jerry is full of shit, but let's say that the Cowboys somehow, can end up getting to 8-9 or something. They finish strong with their backup quarterback. Is there a possibility that Mike McCarthy might not be a dead man walking?
I mean, what's their record right now? They have 4 wins?
I think they're 4-7. I'm pretty
sure. They're going to win tomorrow.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim.
Pretty sure they're going to win tomorrow. I don't know, man.
Panthers, they got the Bengals and the Panthers the next 2 weeks after this one.
The easy thing to do is to fire him, right? But sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side. I mean, I always think back to University of Tennessee football. 2007, they fired Philip Fulmer because they thought that they wanted to do better, and they languished for 15 years until they finally have gotten back to being close to the top. So sometimes firing is kind of what you instinctively want. Like, I just want change. I want change. Sometimes it's not the best thing to do.
Hey, listen, man, I agree with you completely. Every guy who gets fired, or at least most guys who get fired, were at one time everybody was hoping and praying and thinking that they were the answer, right? I mean, that the carousel of football coaches, how many different jobs will the average head coach go through in his life, right? And, change for the sake of change happens a lot in sports, not just in football. Sometimes I don't think that is the right idea, Ronnie. The idea, Mike McCarthy, anybody who has as long of a coaching resume as McCarthy has, you can pick apart. He doesn't do this well. He didn't do that well. He got out-coached this game. He made that mistake or whatever. But, I mean, how many coaches in NFL history genuinely have a better career resume than Mike McCarthy? He's up there. He's probably one of the top without really looking into it, he's probably one of the top 20 or 30 coaches in NFL history, somewhere in that range, I would guess. If you look at his career winning percentage, his wins, he has a Super Bowl, all of that. The next person, are they necessarily going to be better? Dude, I think, Ronnie, that one of the most impressive stats in all of sports is that
Steelers?
the Pittsburgh Steelers
Yep.
have had 3 head coaches since 1969.
It's crazy.
3 head coaches. Now, think about that. McCarthy 15th on the all-time win list. That doesn't mean he's the 15th best coach or whatever, but if you're 15th on the win list and you got a Super Bowl, you're in pretty rarefied air. Now, does shaking it up help sometimes for teams? Yes, it does. You can get a boost from that. But I don't know that necessarily bringing somebody else in, and if it's the right person, then maybe. But I think it's a little overrated to replace coaches sometimes. And as you said, sometimes you don't know what you got till it's gone. Now, if you can bring Bum Phillips in, I'd be all in favor of it. When asked about Earl Campbell not finishing a mile run in practice, and this is a true story, by the way, this isn't just me trying to be funny. Bum really said this. He said, when it's first and a mile, I won't give it to him. Big fucking deal. I don't care if Earl Campbell can't run a mile. As long as he can go 95 yards at full speed, we'll be all right. So bring me some of that back into the NFL. Wouldn't it be a tragedy if Bum Phillips was in this era in the NFL, made him wear regular sideline clothes? Can't even imagine him having to dress like every other coach. Let NFL coaches be great again, I say. Let them dress however they want to. We had Tom Landry on here yesterday. We were talking about the way that he used to dress with Chris Myers. I liked it. I think we need to bring it back. Hank Stram, Vince Lombardi. They were men of stature, God damn it. And they weren't just wearing whatever advertisement the NFL mandated for them to wear. Ronnie, in college football this weekend, we've got some action coming up. Let's start with Texas and Texas A&M renewing their rivalry, playing for the first time in 13 years, and fans are pumped. Take a look at these ticket prices. Average purchase price, $1,079 for this game. And just to get in, if you want to get up in the nosebleeds and just witness it, that's going to currently run you $741, Ron.
What's the most you've ever paid for a ticket?
For a sporting event or for anything?
Yes. Well, you can. So I was speaking sporting event, but sure, if you want to, go anything, that's fine.
For anything, Paul McCartney tickets on the floor in your adopted hometown of Nashville.
Current hometown. How much?
Yeah, it was maybe I like $400 a ticket. This was in 2010 for a sports event. I don't know. I went to the PGA Championship years ago. I don't think it was. That might have been it. Several $100s for ground passes for multiple days to a golf tournament, probably.
2008 national championship in Glendale. I went by myself. I mean, I was with friends, but I hadn't got a ticket. I was like, I'll just sit by myself. It's fine. I can make friends with the people around me. So I figured I'd get tickets from scalpers while I was there, because my experience has always been that single tickets are super easy to get, and they're generally less money than when you want to get 2 or more, because a lot of times, somebody's going to the game and they have an extra ticket because one of the people couldn't go, and they're like, here, give me $100, right? So, dude, I get to Glendale and I didn't know it. They have no scalping law in Glendale, and I didn't have a ticket. So I had to go.
They also have one in Augusta, Georgia, Ronnie. You might be surprised to find out.
I cannot wait until March when we can tell that full story.
Dude, killing me. Today, I want to tell that story so bad. But go ahead, continue.
So, Ricky, I ended up spending, are you ready for this? This is 2008, man. $1,800 for one ticket.
God,
I was
damn,
out there.
man.
I was
Well,
out there. I was like, I had to go. My choice was like 1,200 for a crappy seat or 1,800 for 50-yard line. I'm like, I'm already going to be 1,200 in. I'll just go 1,800. And Ted Ginn returned
Yeah,
the opening
at that
kickoff for a
point.
touch. Ted Ginn returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown. And I'm like, this is the greatest $1,800 I've ever spent. We subsequently went on to just get our asses handed to us in that game and we lost. So yeah, $1,800, man.
Well, at least you didn't spend $9,000, Ron. You know what I'm saying?
That is true. I do. I do, man.
$9,000 would have been worse. Ronnie, let's continue talking about Ohio State. Ryan Day, your boy, is geared up for Michigan. He is 66-9 in his tenure in Columbus so far, and 1/3 of his losses have been handed to him by the Wolverines. He got them in 2019, his first year. Then we had the COVID year. They didn't play. Then
they didn't play because Michigan was scared. Michigan was scared and they didn't play. Like we were ready to play.
Yeah. Harbaugh didn't want any that year.
Yeah.
All right. However you want to characterize
we were
it, Ron,
20-point favorites, Ricky.
Well, Jim Harbaugh didn't want somebody to die, sir. What if somebody got coughed on? What if there was a droplet?
Do we want to have a COVID conversation?
So 3 losses in a row for Ryan Day. And honestly, it feels like that's about the only thing that hasn't gone right for Ryan Day in Columbus. He's obviously, doing a great job objectively. You can't argue with the results. I know that you're obviously confident. What's the spread on this game this weekend?
It's hovering around 21.
So we saw what he did to Indiana. The late touchdown that you and I had a little friendly, brotherly banter about. We're not going to fight. But, he added that kind of fuck you touchdown to Indiana. And okay, fair enough. I'm not going to, we've already had that discussion. We won't argue again. But
Jared, put the screenshot of our text up.
If he did, we almost broke up. The Beatles almost broke up a couple of days ago. No, I'm kidding. But dude, he is going to light Michigan up. This is going to be ugly. Let's take a look at Ryan Day talking about how much it eats at him that he's lost 3 in a row to Michigan.
We got to have, that edge, and we will, because we know what's at stake. We've felt what it's like to not win this game, and it's bad. It's one of the worst things that's happened to me in my life, quite honestly. Other than losing my father and a few other things, it's quite honestly for my family the worst thing that's happened. So we can never have that happen again, ever. And that's been the approach all season. It'll be the same approach.
All right, well, dude, look, as a fan, and as a super fan, you really do live and breathe Ohio State football. I'm used to it. We talk about it all the time. We joke about it. But when I was questioning that last fuck you touchdown against Indiana and whether it was necessary or not, it struck a nerve with you. You love Ohio State as much as anybody loves their school. You got to like hearing that from your coach, right? You want a coach that takes it that personally, I got to believe.
Yeah, I do. And it's just one of those things, man. It's so funny. Like, I go back and forth sometimes on my fandom and other people's fandom. And sometimes it seems like it's so silly that I care so much, like when you think about the grand scheme of everything. But my God, like, sports is this thing that just galvanizes people. It brings people together. This is how my friends and I stay in touch, right? Like, a lot of times we just might kind of go months and months and months without talking to each other. But then something with Ohio State happens, and then boom, this text thread happens. We'll make time to meet for a certain game in Columbus or someplace else. So, like, sometimes I'm like, ugh, why do I care so much? But the truth is, it's like, it's part of the fiber of me and my family. And, Tyler didn't go to Ohio State and she loves Ohio State. Like, I've taken her to a game in Columbus every year since she's been 5 years old. We're going again on Saturday to the Michigan game. And so, yeah, man, it means a lot. And to see that he cares, that is huge. because I think a lot of coaches, they just feel like, you know what, I want to win, I got to win, I'm getting a big paycheck. But for somebody who's not an Ohio guy, because he's from New Hampshire, that's where he went to University of New Hampshire. He played quarterback actually under Chip Kelly. So for somebody who's not like ingrained in them, like from birth, it's cool to see that, and I'm glad that he cares, because like it or not like it, we do care. And so like beating Michigan is everything to us. Like it is everything to us. I want to beat them so bad. And the fact that we've lost 3 games in a row, oh, it sucks. Even though we had won I think we had won 17 of the last 18 or 19 games. It's like those don't even matter anymore. All that matters is they've won 3 in a row, and we have to win. We have to win on Saturday. Like, I don't even care about the spread. We just have to win.
Dude, if Michigan were to somehow upset you, and I don't think that's going to happen.
But they could.
But if they were to, oh my God, the depression spiral, we would have to put you on some sort of watch or something. Lori's going to have to take away your shoelaces and you can't wear a belt anymore for a while.
She's a big fan. She's a big fan too. So might be double.
Well,
I
don't think you have much to worry about. I don't, God. This is getting dark, Ron. But hey, look, speaking of intense coaches, Mike Malone, the head coach of the Denver Nuggets, they gave up 145 the other night to the New York Knicks, and he wasn't happy about it. Ron, one of the things that people joke about is like the NBA regular season, right? These guys, they don't really give a shit during the regular season. I think all of the load management stuff, we're going to talk a little bit later in the program about that. But people feel like the regular season doesn't really matter. Just get into the playoffs, and then that's when everybody starts to care. Not the case for Mike Malone of the Denver Nuggets. Let's take a look at what he had to say. He was very pissed with his team's effort and does not want to see a repeat of it anytime soon.
Is this a game that you feel like you can kind of flush and doesn't have
fuck
to mean
that,
too
man.
much?
No, we're not flushing. You don't flush when you get embarrassed. You don't flush when you gave up 145 points. You don't flush when you didn't play hard, didn't play with effort, didn't play with physicality. I'm not flushing anything.
He's not flushing it, Ron. That turd is not going down. He wants everybody to look at it and think about what they did. It's like when your pet has an accident. It's when your dog has an accident. You go over and you put their nose up on it, and it's like, you see what you did? You see what you did? That's what he wants his team to do. And I got to be honest, I like it, man. The fact that we're still in like the first quarter of the NBA season and he gives that much of a fuck about, let's face it, what could easily be seen as a meaningless regular season game. I think that's indicative of why he's won a championship and why the guy is one of the best guys in the NBA or any other sport. He's one of the great coaches of this era.
Dude, it's about culture. And I mean, every time I see something like this, I just always think back to being a parent. And, I was relentless on Tyler, and she's a by all accounts, a very successful adult now. And there's a right way to do things, and you do the right thing all the time. Now, sometimes it doesn't work out and you learn from it, but it's never okay. Like, it's never okay. Like, oh, it's okay that you did this. No, you screwed up. This is unacceptable. And we can't let this happen again, because it's just like anything else that goes viral, right? It just kind of builds on it. And next thing you know, Denver's a crappy team, and he can't let it happen. So I applaud that.
Yeah, I agree. There was a story, and I probably shouldn't even bring this up because I'm going to butcher it because I can't remember the exact verbiage. But friend of the show, Tim Kirkjian, had a book a number of years ago, and I remember in the book he quoted something that Robin Yount said, and I think it was about Robin Yount's work ethic. The guy was like, Hall of Famer, 2-time MVP, and it was just, the guy had a tremendous work ethic. And the quote was something to the effect of, how do you maintain that? And he's like, well, you just don't, if you don't want to have bad habits, don't do it the first time.
Mm-hmm.
That you can't backslide if you don't allow yourself to take the first backwards step. And that's what I heard from Mike Malone. He's like, we took a backward step last night, and there sure as hell ain't going to be a second one. So I really do like that. Let's take a look here. What do we got, Tim? Throw me. Here we go. Rod, if you're going to flush it, this is why we've got the best producer in the business, by the way. Tim is becoming increasingly proficient at mining the Super 70s archive for tweets that speak exactly to whatever it is that we're talking about. And here's one of mine. I said, my main barometer for physical fitness is being able to flush public toilets with my foot. So far, so good, Ron. I feel like I haven't really lost it yet completely, as long as I can get my foot up there to flush that fucker without having to touch it with my hand. Are you a foot flusher?
Oh my God, yes. Dude, I don't even want to touch faucets in a bathroom. Like, their public bathrooms are just disgusting. I mean, now they have those little, I don't know, foot handles that they have at the bottom of the door, so you can drag the door open, and not have to touch it.
Yeah.
But I will always, when I'm in a bathroom, if they don't have that, and only if I'm wearing long sleeve, I'll do this. I'll pull my sleeve down.
Me too.
And yeah, so
I'll use the inside of my shirt too. You know how I'm typically wearing flannels.
Yeah.
So I'll just grab get it with the inside of my shirt. But dude, one thing I will say about COVID is I have gotten sick less since COVID probably than at any other time in my life. And I think that it is because, I'm not walking around. I still see people walking around with masks on, and I always roll. Now, you never know, maybe that person's undergoing chemotherapy or something, right? I never want to just completely get ahead of myself, but I do sometimes. And I think oh my God, it's not COVID 24. We're going into 2020. It's like these Japanese soldiers that they would find 20 years later out in the woods. They didn't know the war was over. It's like COVID's over. You can take the mask off now. It didn't work in the first place, motherfucker.
It's their MAGA hat. All it is their MAGA hat.
Well, I don't know, man, if it's beyond virtue signaling or not. I think a lot of these people, they just got broken by it and they worry about it. But one thing I will tell you, Ron, is if I'm out somewhere and somebody's coughing, if I was in a bookstore the other night and somebody came through, I heard a guy cough a couple of times and I was just like, nope. And I just went to a different part of the bookstore for a while. It's like, I don't play with that. I really just avoid people a little more if they look peaked. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally normal all the rest of the time. But if there's somebody out there who looks sick, I give them their distance. And it seems to be serving me well, Ron.
No, man, I'm the opposite. If I hear somebody cough, I
out?
Because that helps your immune system, man.
Give me some of that good stuff. Give it to me. Oh, there you go. Here's one for all of you. I hope that for everyone that you're found not guilty of having a bad Thanksgiving tomorrow. My friends, you sweet bastards. There's the guy. Don't let him carve the turkey, for God's sake. There's a good way to bring the meal to a horrifying conclusion. Good Lord.
What's up, Ricky?
Oh my God. What the fuck?
Go Buckeyes!
Holy shit. Oh my God. Brutus Buckeye joins us now. Unexpectedly from Nashville, Tennessee. Oh my God. Well, When did you get that?
I got to thank the Crables. Luke, Evan, thanks for letting me borrow that. They live in my neighborhood, my very, very good friends. And he gave me the code to his house so I could go in and get it yesterday just so I could wear it today for the show.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.